Hey everyone, welcome back. And today we are going to talk about Dungeon Siege 3. So I've rounding out the Dungeon Siege trio. Again, this is me doing some public speaking practice. So this gets one take and then gets put online. So any critique, please be nice, gentle. I'm still working on it. As usual, we'll start with the good and then we'll move over to the bad and then my recommendations if you should actually play the game. So, with the good, one thing I always like about games is that they start out with low damage numbers. Here in recent times, we've decided everybody should start doing, 1,000,000 hit points worth of damage at level 7. I don't like that. I'm more of a Breath of Fire type of person where you start out doing 2 or 3 damage and then increasing it from there. But that's just me. I think it's good that they decided to start out with, 5 and 10s instead of thousands and hundreds. The next best thing is your teammate will revive you. I am a pretty sloppy hack and slash player, and this is probably not one of the best ones that I've played. So it's good that you can revive each other when necessary so that you guys can continue fighting. The last good thing that I'm going to say about this game is the ending. It reminds me very much of Arcanum. It's whatever you did in the game drastically affects what happens. And, so you can do one thing at the end and get one ending, do another thing at the end and get another ending. Depending on how you played throughout the game, you can get more, you can get more endings. There's maybe if I take a different path this time or, do something else, I can achieve something different. Beyond that, there's not a whole lot that I personally enjoyed about this game. And yes, I did play it all the way through. I put the save part pretty far back. So, I guess my biggest problem is this game is not in the spirit of the other Dungeon Siege games. This is something completely different. I know it was made by a different studio, and then from there, they took their own feel on it. I don't really know what else to say, but it doesn't feel like a Dungeon Siege game, and to be honest, it doesn't play like one either. There's so much more customization. It still has a pretty bad story, but you are pretty much playing this character and they have 2 trees. They have, Katarina has single wield and dual wield. Is that Lucas? He has, he has sword and shield and, dual weapon. Beyond that, there's not a whole lot of customization. I can't learn, magic to go along with my skills or, learn melee with Katarina. I'm pretty much just stuck playing her. And that was not to me in the essence of Dungeon Siege. You were able to kind of develop your character kind of how you felt was needed. And I think I touched on my second point. The character customization was cut way down. I get Katarina's tree and that's it. Everybody can heal. So that doesn't make, one character better than the other. But also kind of makes them all just bleh. Everybody can heal. You saw me healing as Katarina. I just pop a heal and then start attacking, and I start gaining hit points back. And depending on what I do is how much more hit points I gain back. So the next point is too many save points. It's like there's a save point every 500 feet. They're everywhere. You know, in some of the dungeons they're maybe 1,000 feet apart, but they're nowhere near as far apart as they probably should be. With them being so plentiful, they should just let me save whenever I want to. That would have made much more sense. That way, it's on me, you know, when I don't save. Instead, now is there's a save point that, you know, restores HP every 500 feet. And I think that's just too much. Next up is the dumb AI. The AI in this game is pretty bad. I've seen one of the people attacking walls to try to hit enemies, which they couldn't hit the enemy. I've seen them try to fight off when I've been knocked unconscious. I've seen them try to constantly revive me, and to me it was more prevalent at like the beginning of the game, where you know, it was easier to die or get knocked unconscious. But it's the AI is just not brilliant, and it really just kind of brings the game down to me, at least to me anyway. They're not showing it now, but a lot of the times in the game, the enemy just targets you, and they'll just, you know, you'll see a wave of monsters, and they'll come out, and they will attack only you, which gets old after a while, especially when Lucas runs out there and, you know, does whatever Lucas does. I've only played the game once, so, you know, every enemy just constantly coming over to attack me, again, speaks more to the poor AI than really anything, because there should be some threat, because I don't play this game as well. You can probably tell right now that I'm probably not being the most efficient possible. You know, I'm almost dead yet again. I think some of the save points, to go back on that, are in bad places. They are when you die, you will get bombarded with two sets of enemies. You know, you'll get one from before the save point and one from after the save point. And they did this also a little bit in Dungeon Siege 2, where they would put the spawn point, or the teleporter, right between two kind of dens of monsters, or groupings of monsters. And if you happen to have to go back to town, they would mob you from the respawn. And this is what this feels like. You're being punished for dying, which, you know, there should be a punishment. But it just seems too much. Like, there was poor planning because there's so many save points. So sometimes in this game I've noticed that the aiming is pretty horrible, and sometimes it's really good. I mean, it can be insanely good or it can be insanely bad. Like I can dodge an enemy, and then when I go back to shoot them, I'm shooting at some place that there are no enemies. And it's just sometimes annoying when you're trying to accomplish something and you're rolling away, and then oh, look where I'm aiming. Oh, and there goes Lucas. No wonder why they're chasing me. And it seems like every boss has a kind of the same strategy, or all the named monsters at least, is to spawn as many monsters as possible. And there is an achievement for this one, where if you defeat 50 of his minions, you get an achievement. This is every boss battle, pretty much. Every boss, well, most of them anyway, because all they do is constantly spawn more and more monsters, and there's missing that sense of originality. Like, oh hey, here's a fire boss, he's really good at fire and AoE. You know, here's this water boss or this air boss that's good at movement and fluidity, you know, making you miss. No, it's here's 50 more monsters and good luck. And since they only go after you, they're pretty bad. Because, I mean, they're just chasing me all the time. So Lucas or whoever my party member is free to do whatever they want. You know, they're free to beat him up and he's down again. But that's okay. We'll have these guys walk around. We'll get Lucas back up and going. And I guess my last question is, do you think that the enemies hit for too much damage? Or is that because it's because I'm playing Katarina and not Lucas? I don't know how much damage Lucas is taking. So to me, I'm getting hit for, you know, 3, 4, 500. Is that good? Is that bad? Do I have good equipment? Do I have bad equipment? Because none of the gear makes sense. So I'll raise my agility, but my crit will lower. And I'll raise another stat, and it will, you know, it'll raise my crit. And the usage of certain skills only a certain amount of times, but with how frequently you're actually able to use them, absolutely makes no sense. Because after a few shots, you know, this skill lasts 30 seconds. And I have more than enough time to keep using it constantly. And I'll just keep going through this text. So this game took me about 15.5 hours to beat with the DLC. And I'm just gonna...
I was one man. Only in the last 5...
I'm gonna hear enough.
Kent is your prisoner by rights.
You're under arrest. Goodbye. And that will have an effect on the ending, which is pretty nice. I mean, nobody cares about what you guys have to say.
Shall I make ready to leave? I should warn you.
So all in all, you know, my criteria for do I recommend the game is if I would teach it in an RPG class. This one is pretty just normal. There's nothing special or unique about it to me. So I would not recommend this one. If I had to recommend a Dungeon Siege game or put them in order, it would be Dungeon Siege 2, Dungeon Siege, and then this one. I think this one is by far the worst because it's not a Dungeon Siege in my opinion. It is some other nondescript hack and slash with Dungeon Siege slapped on it. So with that, I'm going to end it. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. Hope you guys have a great time watching me and listening to me. And remember, keep it polite with the comments. I'm practicing public speaking while playing video games at the same time. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks, guys.